Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at this winter storm which is going to be impacting areas into Minnesota, Wisconsin, the northern parts of Michigan, and then also into areas into northern New England. And then we're also going to be talking about the severe weather which is going to be impacting areas into Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, through even into portions of southern Wisconsin, into portions of Indiana, and then potentially pushing even a little bit more eastward than there. And we're going to be going over that later on in the video. I also have my updated snowfall and rainfall forecast at the very end of the video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. So we're going to start off here with your National Weather Service page. We have red flag warnings there for Oklahoma and for Texas, a large area there of wind advisories that's going from New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, through Kansas, Missouri, and into Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, and then into Nebraska. We also have some winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, and even some blizzard warnings there for northeastern Colorado, northwestern Kansas, and into western parts of Nebraska. And then we also have this extra area of winter weather advisories there for parts of central and eastern Minnesota, as well as northwestern Wisconsin, and some winter storm watches, which will most likely be upgraded to winter storm warnings there over northwestern portions of Maine. Now, we're going to start off here with your European computer model forecast in terms of your severe weather and your snowfall, just timing all this activity out. Now, this is going to be by this afternoon, and you're seeing we're already getting this good, well-developed low pressure system. You're already getting to see it just by looking at this presentation of how the European thinks this precipitation is gonna shape up. You already have a good line of severe thunderstorms running down south into Texas, through Arkansas, Missouri, and this is gonna be moving its way eastward. You can already tell where this cold front is. You have your low pressure system right around here. You have an occluded front right around here, and then you have your cold front dragging south into all the way down into Texas, and then you have your warm front north of there, and that's going to be making it right around to the Wisconsin and Illinois border there. That's pretty much the northernmost extent, and then of course this would be making its way to the east, and it would gradually progress and it would weaken as it moves further eastward. And now as we continue this would be by tonight, and now getting into Sunday morning when you really get that severe line of thunderstorms. As you get into Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, I think it's going to be more mixing in with some snowfall and rainfall, especially in the northern portions of the states. And then it's probably going to be a cold rain. But as you get further south into Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, through Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, and even into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then even further eastward than there, you might actually get in on some severe weather, and that would be in the form of some isolated tornadoes, some large damaging hail. The Storm Protection Center, in their discussion of the severe weather, they actually put a threat for 2 inches or greater of hail. So that's definitely something that we have to keep an eye on. And that would be very large hail, and this would cause a lot of damage if it were to hit your windshield, or if it hit your car or something like that. That would cause a lot of damage. Now, this would be by Sunday mornings, moving through the Great Lakes, and you see your low pressure system by this point somewhere over right around, I believe that would be Lake Michigan right there, and you're seeing that snowfall over northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, and into the UP of Michigan there, and it starts to move to the north and to the east as you get into Monday there. Now, here's your total snowfall from the European model, and we'll just zoom in here on Minnesota, Wisconsin, and a little bit there of the UP of Michigan. Pretty much the only areas seeing snowfall out of this, except for areas into the northeast, and I'll show you your National Weather Service forecast in just 1 second. You see we have a good 2 to 6 inches there through Minnesota, and then you even have this little area that's over 6 inches. Now, it's going to be borderline. It depends how much warm air is actually going to infiltrate here. You do have a little bit of warm air, and it's going to be very borderline in terms of temperatures. You're going to have a lot of mixing going on, especially as you get to southern and southwestern areas into Minnesota, and then as you get further to the northeast of Minnesota, I think you will actually get probably a good 4 to 5 inch accumulation of snowfall here. Now, here's your National Weather Service forecast, and you're seeing we have about 1 to 3 inches over that same area. They don't bring the southern extent as far southwest, and you see they do show around 6 inches, but they don't show much more than 6 inches there. Now, here's your Storm Prediction Center. We're going to start getting into your severe weather aspect of things, and then at the end of the video, we'll show you my snowfall and rainfall forecast. And as I did say this in my recent video, that I did think this moderate risk was going to expand, and sure enough, it did expand. Expanded, included another 300,000 or so people. Yesterday, 3.7 million people were in that moderate risk. Now, 4 million people were in that moderate risk. So it did get expanded a little bit. Really, the area that expanded the most was that enhanced risk. They are showing this severe weather actually extend further back into Iowa, and then really through Missouri a little bit there, and that's because they do actually see this low pressure system. Sometimes you do actually get some severe weather behind this cold front a little bit, north and west of the cold front. You can sometimes get some severe weather if you are along that occluded front. So that definitely that's something that's interesting to note there. Now we do have that enhanced risk, and that actually includes the city of Chicago, and it also includes areas like St. Louis. So a lot of big cities in that enhanced risk, moderate risk, really big cities like Aurora, Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, and I know I do have a few followers from those areas. So you guys have been discussing in the comment section amongst yourself, and I've been pitching in a little bit in that discussion. But definitely, you guys can ask your questions about the severe weather in the comment section below, and I do answer all your comments, and I do like to respond fairly quickly to your comments. Now, your tornado risk pretty much stays the same. Now, you do have a 15% chance of tornado risk. Really, even if you're in that 2% chance, that's still a chance of seeing a tornado. A 5% chance in that brown, 10% in the yellow, 15% in the red. They rarely pull out that 15% chance. And then a hatched region in that black hatched region, and that is a 10% or greater probability of seeing an EF2 to EF5 tornado. And definitely, that's something that is definitely on the table. I think they're going to be more isolated and probably confined to northwestern Illinois there with that with those very significant tornadoes. But they actually expanded that hatched region to include areas in Iowa, Missouri, and then even pushed it further to the east through pretty much the rest of Illinois, and then through the rest of or through the northwestern part of Indiana. Wind probability of wind damage, and you're saying a large area of 5% chance in that brown, 15% chance in that yellow, pretty much for the entire Mississippi Valley there. And then hail risk, this is where they're putting a 10% or greater probability of 2-inch diameter hail or larger within 25 miles of a given point within this hatched region, and that black hatched region, again, that's for 2-inch diameter or more hail size. And then a 30% chance of hail in that red region, 15% chance in the yellow, 5% chance in the brown. Now, here's for your day 2 outlook. So all of this was for today, which would be Saturday the 28th. For Sunday the 29th, you're seeing that shifts to the east and also weakens. Marginal risk there for areas into Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and into western New York. And then as we go into your tornado risk, 2% chance there for western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, western West Virginia. So not a huge threat, but definitely the threat is still there. Wind damage, 5% chance, so nothing crazy there. And hail risk, that's confined to western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania there. Now let's start looking at your HRRR composite reflectivity. This is going to show you where it's expecting those thunderstorms to really set up. Now, this isn't going to show you exactly where they're going to show up. This is just a model presentation of what's going to happen, but she'll give you a good idea of what type of supercells that you're going to look at. Now, you do see we have a lot of singular celled supercell storms, and then as you get later on really into Sunday morning, they're going to start moving to the east, and that's when they're going to bunch up together. You're not going to get as much room in between thunderstorms or supercells, so you're not actually, you want those you want more room in between your supercells to get a larger tornado. Once you get them grouped together, it doesn't have as much room to kind of form a big tornado or really produce a lot of hail or damaging wind. So as it moves to the east, it's going to start losing kind of all its energy pretty much and all its strength. Now as we continue, this would be by this morning, and now it's going to really ramp up as you get into tonight, and as you get overnight into the early morning hours of Sunday, you're going to start to see more batchiness and more batching together of these systems or of these supercells, and you're going to start to see this next line of thunderstorms start to develop as you get later on Sunday night or Saturday night. And now as you get into Sunday morning, you're starting to see they're batching together again and they're grouping together again, so that's not going to allow for as much supercell activity. and then as we continue, this starts to move further and further to the east, and as it moves further to the east, maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning with that, but definitely nothing too crazy in terms of severe weather. Now, here are your dew points, and usually you want above a about 50 to 60 dew point, and this is really going to help, and this really shows you how much energy you have in the atmosphere. And you see, actually, once you get into those blues, that's above 60 dew points, and then as you get to the purples, that's where you're above 70 dew points. So that definitely that's something very, very important to these supercell development. And you start to see as this warm front starts to move to the north. Now your cold front again is kind of lining something like this with, or this would be your warm front, your cold front draping to the south, and you're having your warm front to the north, and that's kind of moving a little bit like this. So you are in that warm sector of this. Everywhere in here, this would be your warm sector for the most part, and you're seeing you do actually have dew points of about 70 plus in those regions. Now, as we get this is going to be your CAPE, your surface-based CAPE, convective available potential energy, and this is showing you how much energy you have in the atmosphere. And you get a lot of energy as you get into southern and central Illinois, but you don't have those storms forming in southern and central Illinois for the most part. It's as you get into the northern portions of the state, that's when this starts to move a little bit to the north with this supercell activity. That's when you're starting to get, as you get into those grays, that's above 1,000 CAPE, so that's definitely the threshold basically for seeing any type of supercell development, and you are going to see that over Iowa and northern Illinois. And as you get to southern Illinois, you're not going to have as much storminess because you just don't have all the right ingredients to create those thunderstorms and have those develop. Now, here is your significant tornado parameter, and as you get into those grays, that's where you have at least any shot of getting a tornado here. So you want that's above a 1. Any values above 1 is really any chance of seeing a tornado, and of course, the higher those numbers get, that's definitely a higher chance of seeing those tornadoes. So as we continue this, you start to see 1s, 2s, and then you start to get a few where you're getting above about a 5, 6, even in some regions. So that's definitely something very, very dangerous that you're seeing those significant tornado parameters, STPs, over about 3 or 4. That's definitely something that we have to keep our eye on, and these are very high, indicating that you're probably going to get some long tracking or long-lived thunderstorms and tornadoes here, at least some long-lived supercells that are going to drop some hail, and potentially some long-lived tornadoes and long-track tornadoes. And as we continue, this starts to move to the east, and it dissipates again. Mainly as you get past Sunday morning, it's going to be dissipating, and you're not going to see too much activity. Now, let's start getting into my personal forecast in terms of snowfall and rainfall. Storm track, it's starting right now in western Kansas, and it's going to be moving to the northeast, and then it's going to be moving eastward across the Great Lakes, and this is going to be going from today all the way until the 30th. It's starting to wrap up. That would be Monday, and it's starting to wrap up around the main area. Now, under an inch to 3 inches of snowfall here, and this is going to be for Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, and into the UP of Michigan, as well as there for New Hampshire and Maine, seeing under an inch to 3 inches of snowfall. 3 to 6 inches of snowfall, and that will be for northeastern Maine and into northern parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, and then also there for northern New Hampshire and into northern Maine. They're seeing 3 to 6 inches of snowfall accumulation, under an inch to 1 inch there of rainfall, and it's going to be for many of the areas east of this storm system, except for areas into the coastal parts of the southeast, and then also there for the south central United States. Not seeing too much in the way of rainfall, and then we do have a little area there in northern Pennsylvania, much of upstate New York, and then into Vermont there, a little bit of Vermont, seeing 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, mainly right around 1 to 1.5 inches of rainfall out of this system. It's not going to be a very long-lived system. It's going to be probably moving out within a day or two, but definitely it's going to produce quite a bit of supercell activity, quite a bit of severe weather. So that's definitely one of the big threats with this system. And I also have a little bit more in-depth coverage on yesterday's video. A little bit of it did change, but most of it is still accurate. So you can go check that out in yesterday's video. I did go a lot more in-depth on our severe weather. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you never miss a video when I do upload. Anyways, guys, that was Eli, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.